Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Madness Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I am joined, as always, by Cassisi Harris.
Hey.
Jose Fuentes.
Hi.
And David Rios.
Hello.
And tonight we'll be talking about staying current with media and how that affects their ability to be creative. Both the positive and negative effects of that. Kind of, but not really, joking about Starfield recently coming out, the latest big thing from Bethesda. And I may or may not have taken a day off of work to get into some serious gamer hours from release.
If Tim's management is watching, he was truly sick.
Yes, absolutely. I'm absolutely not 60 hours in. But so that is the current media that I've been taking recently. But yeah, after kind of related, I'll go back to our old icebreaker for starting shows, since it is, I think, important for creatives to, at least in some way, be up to date with stuff, even if you're not dedicating 60 hours a week to a video game. Reading, watching, or reading. Whatever you have done since the last time we gathered. So, Kasisi, what have you been reading, watching, or playing?
I just finished Savage Avengers Dine with Doom. I don't know if any of you guys read that. I'm loving the way that Conan was written in that, and I love Doom anyway. And then
Yeah.
I just finished The Last Ronin too,
Okay,
Nice.
nice.
which was good. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Isn't that the one where Conan and Doom kind of have like an understanding with each other? Like, dude, I totally get you.
Well, sort of, sort of. Yeah, he's like, you have heart sorcerer. It's pretty. It's a. I love it. I don't know if you guys have read it. I don't want to spoil anything, but their dynamic is really cool. And him and Punisher. His dynamic is really cool. Those two together too. So pretty fun.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Jose, what have you been reading, watching, or playing this last week?
Okay, this is not like a plug or anything, but I've actually been reading Roland's book.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of it. It's sitting over there. But I've been reading his book. Watching? I've been watching Murdoch Mysteries, which is a Canadian period murder mystery show.
Sure.
And I love murder mystery shows, like old Agatha Christie, like Poirot, like stuff like that. I just think they're awesome. There's a lot of like dynamic storytelling in that, and even like not so much like a lot of huge action, but like the way plot threads are thrown out and picked up. I think it's really cool. And I started playing Diablo 4.
Okay. Nice.
Still not that good at it.
What class did you play?
Rogue.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah. Nice.
So one of my friends already took was a barbarian, and the other one already took druid. So I was like, oh, I'll play rogue. I'll keep it like spread the diversity out.
Sure. Nice. And David, what have you been reading, watching, or playing this last week?
Haven't been playing anything. Reading a little bit of the Star Wars: The New Republic. Not the New the High Republic. Just trying to burn through that. Watching, I just finished watching the new Ahsoka. Won't spoil any of that.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers. And watched with my wife for the first time Transformers the movie. Got her exposed to that.
I mean, which
one?
The movie.
Okay, so
The OG?
The animated 35-year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Good.
So she thinks I watch weird stuff, but that is
wrong with
it.
that.
But
I'll say if people haven't caught on to the stream yet, me and Dave are huge Transformers fans.
very much so. Transformers, TV show, movies, toys.
Yep.
All about it. We love the whole gamut. Looking forward
yeah.
to the new series coming out. But other than that, just doing a lot of either work, my day job, work-related stuff, or some family stuff with my mom and some of her things that we had to do.
Yay.
So,
Hey, Tommy. Yeah. So good. So that is the Transformers movie, the last performance by Orson Welles.
correct.
Yes. Which is
I read it. I read an interview and he was describing it. He's like, I'm some big toy being trying to be stopped by a bunch of smaller toys. That's pretty much the understanding he had of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in the credits, watching the opening credits, they had there is no actor listed from the pre-movie. So everybody that's listed on the opening credits is the characters, the people playing the new characters, because in 86 they wanted to kind of kill off the 80, 84, 85 stuff and move on to the 86 stuff. So you've got you've got Hot Rod, and Cup and Blur and all those, which is real interesting to see, because that's where they put all the names. So you've got Orson Welles, you've got Leonard Nimoy, you've got Lionel Stander, old school from Heart to Heart. You've got is it John Machita? With his fastest, Blur. Robert Stack, Ultra Magnus. Just you got all these period in time, and of course Judd Nelson as Hot Rod. So you got all these period in time people, but everybody that's highlighting the movie is all the brand new characters. No mention of Frank Welker or or Peter Cullen, or Scatman Crothers, Casey Kasem. None of the people that that were so heavily involved with it, even after they did the switch. Of course, they're all in the end credits and everything, but that was a movie that I remember seeing in the theater when it came out, and just coming out blown away, going, "Wow, they pretty much killed everybody." Most people.
Sure did.
They hadn't done that. Everything on the show, everybody got hurt, but they got fixed up by the end of the episode. So
opposite of G.I. Joe, where Duke died at the end of every season. All right. For me, I've been reading X-Men: The Man Who Fell to Earth. The introduction of Nate Gray.
You said X-Man.
X-Man, yeah. To the X-Men Prime universe. After dealing,
Serenity is such a cool character.
Yeah, very good. But dealing with the after effects of Age of Apocalypse and Age of Strife. I have been watching. I need to start Ahsoka still. But I actually started rewatching Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex.
Nice.
Yeah. And playing very obviously Starfield.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Right.
That's and then on work breaks, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. They ported Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, and Final Fantasy VII for Soldier to mobile. Essentially like a broken up in story segments. So it's the original story with like world traversal and battles and cutscenes and all that stuff. But with using the ATB gauge and set up more like the trial system that was in I remember Final Fantasy 12. I don't remember if they had the separate trial mode in Final Fantasy before then, but from 12 onward, they had the ability to just go in and fight boss fights after boss fight after boss fight. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, that's a good breaking point too, because once you hit Final Fantasy 11, you were on their first multiplayer. So the cut over to 12 was kind of a good break, and then 13 expanded pretty nicely. So
going from Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 12 to 13 was a huge difference. Just the generational break between the two.
I've never played past Final Fantasy 2.
Is that the Final Fantasy Original 2 or the Final Fantasy American 2?
American 2. What was it?
Okay.
Fantasy Star?
That's 5, right?
Yeah.
I
Because the
think that's
original
Final
was
Fantasy
4,
5.
yeah.
Whatever, dude. Whatever the second one that came out, that's the last one I ever played.
He's playing that Super Nintendo cartridge in there.
Yes.
So, and so you missed 7, and my big thing with 7 is I used to keep tons of saves. I had pretty much a memory card that was devoted to Final Fantasy VII saves.
Yeah.
And I got to the very end of that game, and I was one materia short of doing the entire, it was the quad
Oh my
materia,
gosh. Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, well, I can go back. I've got tons of saves. The materia I needed to finish that last one was inside of the pyramid temple that collapses, shrinks down on itself. And my save was right after it collapsed on itself.
Oh no.
So there was no way to go back and get that one.
Well, they should start all over again.
Unless I start all over.
Right?
But that one always kicked me in the thing because it's like, I had all the materias, I had combined, all the summons, the reds, the purples, but I couldn't get the blues because I was missing that one materia. And I haven't picked up the game since then. I'm like right at the point where I just need to get the final boss.
Issues.
And it's like, it's at that point you can either go and fight Ultimate Weapon or you can finish the game. I had already beaten, I forget which one was higher. I hit the lower one, so I think that was Emerald Weapon, and Ruby I think was the higher one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd already beaten Emerald, but it's like I just got fed up and walked away. I'm like, I can never finish this thing 100%.
Jeez. That's right. Well, speaking of staying current, though, this year also had the release of a new Final Fantasy, which is that being 16, and that being sort of your franchise you've been following quite pretty really. Have you rolled credits on Final Fantasy 16 yet?
Me? No, I haven't even had time to start it yet.
Okay.
I guess there's new DLC coming out soon.
Yes.
I think 2 DLC packs.
Yeah. So you may get the expanded edition from the rep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll open up this with our first question. So, as creators, how much of a priority, if any at all, do you put on consuming new content or staying current?
I think it depends on the media, right? I mean, if we're talking specifically comic books, I like new books that come out. My cousin used to collect books. They're like, oh, it's number 1, first issue, I gotta get it, right? But then really wouldn't collect anything past that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like that, but if a new indie book comes out, I'm gonna at least try it if it's a genre that I'm interested in. I'm gonna at least pick up at bare minimum, I'm probably gonna pick up the first 5. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because a book may start off slow, but by the 5th issue, it either got some meat to it or you're gonna be done with it.
Right.
I think I'm at the point where I'm trying to fall in love with it again, and I think in order to fall in love, I need to go back. So I haven't really put a lot of priority. Meaning, The Last Ronin, I wanted to read because I think that is cool. The concept is cool, but I don't really put a priority on getting new stuff. My priority right now is to go back and try and study a character like Ghost Rider, and how many issues can I go back to try and see what different writers did with that character. The same with like the Green Lantern. I'm trying to do that with the Green Lantern as well. And so I haven't put much of a priority on getting the most current issues of things as much as looking backwards right now. So.
You should at least get, was it The Last Ronin, The Lost Years?
The Lost Years?
That takes place between technically the last Ninja Turtle story and The Last Ronin. What happens to Mikey throughout that time period? You know what I mean? Like, where did he go? What did he do? What happened to him? Like, that led up to him going to, where it starts in The Last Ronin. It's pretty awesome.
it's more detailed because I got all the issues of The Last Ronin. So is it more detailed than?
It is like a prequel to The Last Ronin. It's like what happened in like the 5 or 10 years before The Last Ronin.
Okay, because I know he
It's pretty-
explains it, but this is like in depth and okay. I'll look at it.
And I saw then the new previews stuff. They're launching the sequel to that, the Lost Ronin Revelations, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're pushing that too. So,
But definitely, like, it's awesome.
I bounce back and forth. I like to go and kind of retouch on the old stuff. You know, I like to sit down and reread something that I've had before. I do like to keep current on things as I go along, but then I also like to pick up things. One of the things that I just picked up just to try out is the World Tree series. So
I heard that was awesome.
I picked up a few issues. Of course, I've missed all the hype, so they're like on, fourth printing and stuff like that. So I figure, hey, they've been, pretty popular and selling pretty well. I figure I give them a try. So that's kind of a case of, just stepping into something new that looks interesting, and we'll see where it goes. See if I like it. If I don't like it, I'll just stop, or if I do, then I'll just keep chugging away at it, Jose. We kind of talked a little bit about Void Rivals and all that. So since I've read those, I've gotten pretty hooked into those as well. So I'm looking forward to maintaining those, as well as the new Transformers and GI Joe stuff from the
reading Void Rivals is like watching. Oh my god!
To answer Tommy's question, Starfield is cooler than Planet Coaster, although you can build your own network of like space bases, so you do get your Planet Coaster like feel in there.
Yeah, Void Rivals is like watching a remake of like Thundercats. You know, when Thundercats came out, and then it had that remake where it's a little more anime-esque.
Yeah.
But you're watching it, you're like, okay, Lionel's a younger kid, but like they're bringing in all these other characters that were in the old show. You're like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Like it's a very much like a nostalgia thing. So like reading Void Rivals, they're bringing back these characters. Like, oh, I forgot that guy was even in that friggin' universe. And like, so like to me, it's like I don't know, it's like reading the older books almost, like with just like kind of recapping. I don't know, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm biased though. I like Transformer stuff.
That's fair. My answer's kind of a combination of David's and Jose's, and it'll stay current on stuff that I like, but I'll bounce back on everything else. Like, I'll bounce back and forth on comics where, like, I won't necessarily always be reading what's new in comics, but I'll at least have something that I'm reading, like either going back and finding a trade or something that I haven't read yet. But in general, I stay pretty current on movies and games, just sort of passively too. It's not like I put a concerted effort into staying current. It's just that there's something cool out there, and I want to see cool stuff. So, but I don't see every movie come out. Like I'm not seeing Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 this weekend, but end of this month I'll be watching Creator for sure.
Still live?
Creator looks so good.
Is that the one with the robots?
Yes. Yeah, the AI uprising thing. Yeah.
Well, that's another one that I had that I'm kind of looking forward to, is a little bit of old, a little bit of new. They just released the Babylon 5, The Road Home. Yeah. So it's the new, because they, J. Michael Straczynski has brought everybody back, everybody that's surviving on the cast. And what I heard was that he went to every single character, every single actor, and said, "Do you have a problem with this?" And if you have a problem with this, we won't do it. I'll cancel it. And every single one of them said, "No, we want to do this."
Nice.
So
That's dope.
all the surviving people are there, and from what I've heard is some of the actors that they've gone to fill some of the other parts, like Jakar and Matt, because Andreas Katsoulis had passed away years ago, but the people that were picking up for them are very true to the voices and that feeling. And I think I was told that even Tracy Scoggins, who was in the 5th season, apparently from what I was told, is that she went and hired a top voice talent actor or coach to help her get in the frame where she was developing her sound to sound like she did back then. The younger and all that. So that tells me that there's a lot of love and stuff put in this. So I'm looking forward to watching that. So that kind of falls in that something old, because I used to watch that show years ago, and something new because it's the brand new storyline. So
absolutely, definitely. All right, so I kind of got that set up. How do you find consuming new content, either or your media consumption in general? How do you find, but trying to stay focused on consuming new stuff, that impacts your ability to be creative? Do you find that inspires you in some way? Do you find that when you see something cool that someone else is doing, you're like, I want to do something cool like that? Or how does that play out in your mind when you're consuming new content?
On the one hand, like you said, you see something, for instance, no spoilers, but John Wick, there's one scene where they're filming it like
Yeah.
down, looking as he's clearing rooms down. They've already established like the type of round that he's firing that's very visual. And you're seeing that and you're like, man, how could I incorporate that in what I do? Because that's a cool way to progress through a couple scenes. But then at the same time, you go, man, that's already been done. So you always want to be new, even though every story is already told, right?
Right.
You still want to bring something new to it, and the more you consume current stuff, the more you feel like, dang it, I thought of that, but I didn't do it. Now I can't do that, and I gotta keep, thinking. So there's that paralysis part of consuming new things, because now you feel like you got to go back to the drawing board. But at the same time, when you see like stuff that's done so well, you want to go, man, how do I incorporate that same thing? So it's just that healthy balance of not being paralyzed by what you see and starting over all the time, and being inspired by what you see and just immediately incorporating it in what you do. I don't know.
Definitely.
I like getting in new comics, like new material. Specifically because I think now, as I'm older, I don't necessarily read the stories to read the stories. Some of them I do. But it's mostly,
Thanks, Jose.
did I like the interior art? No, and I get that. Do I like the interior art? And if I do, can I break it down? You know what I mean? How did they do their inks? Obviously, Jorge Jimenez does digital stuff, right? How did he get what kind of brushes did he use? Like, can I pinpoint what kind of brushes he used for this? How did he do that? You know what I mean? Can I incorporate some of those, use those and find a tutorial for them and teach myself to incorporate that into my art as well? Not to emulate his work, but just to uplift mine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So stories are great. You know that. I'm getting all hurtful and whatnot. I see you crying. I see you crying over there, looking around for your tissue.
For me, yeah, I'm always looking at, and I talked about this before on some of the other streams. Is I'm always looking to see what's interesting. What are people doing? What can I, be used to, help augment what I have. I'm definitely never out to, just copy somebody's work or something like that, because everybody works hard to do the stuff that they do, and nobody wants to just have people sit there and just kind of plagiarize their stuff. So I always take influences and throw it in, whether it's something that's maybe it's something that's really bright, something that's colorful, or maybe it's something moody. It all depends. So yeah, it's something I'm always kind of trying to take in and see what I can utilize. So.
Definitely. I know. I do kind of take the idea of when I watch something new or reading something new, kind of like how Casey said, I will sometimes take inspiration from seeing the set pieces, but maybe my head is just stuck too far up my own butt. But the thing that I usually am getting is if I see good, if I see nice scenes or I see good dialogue, I'm always thinking about how could I tighten that up? Like if I was writing the scene, how would I make that tighter? And watching something like Last Voyage of the Meteor, where I liked a lot of the movie, but the pacing was my main issue with it. And I was just thinking over and over in my head again, how would I rearrange these scenes? What would I cut?
Mm-hmm.
How to make the script tight and a lot more driving. That's usually the inspiration I get when I'm consuming new stories is how would I rewrite this? Constantly doing those stuff exercises in my head. But I also kind of like what Casey mentioned there. It can be staying current can have a negative effect on your productivity because you might end up entering into decision process where either you see stuff that has already been done, you're like, man, I feel demotivated because that's the idea that I wanted to do. Or maybe even you go into, there's so many cool things, I want to do them all, I don't know where to start, and you enter into a decision process that way. Or maybe you spend 80 hours in a week playing a video game and forget that you have to write a script.
Oh my god!
Mention any names.
Yes. After this podcast, we'll be having our Final Fantasy 14 Addicts Anonymous group. So if you're an addict, please stick around.
Directly after.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we will be rating Nidhogg.
Nice.
Yeah.
Baby steps, guys. Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah, exactly. So what do you guys find might have a negative effect on your creativity or productivity by staying current on media? If you have personal examples that similarly to anything mentioned or anything else that you found.
I would say the first thing I would say is the distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily from mainstream media, but man, there are so many cool independent creators out there with some pretty awesome books. And if you get them all, that's more time away from artwork. That's more, you know what I mean? As much as it's great to soak all that information in, soak all that stuff in, I'm not the fastest reader, so it tends to take a little more time out of me.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead. Susie.
No, I was going to say that is true. It does take a lot of time to stay current as well, especially when you dip your toe in and you just all of a sudden get lost in the rabbit hole of something that you didn't understand how big it was,
Yeah.
how many issues it was. You can get stuck, right? And then, are you stifling your own creativity because you're just stuck in this rabbit hole of consuming this thing, right? So,
Is it just me, or is he getting lower in sound?
Yeah, you're.
Oh, can you not hear me?
There. Okay. Yes.
Oh,
I can hear you better now.
Yeah,
you're far enough away that you're.
Sorry. Yeah.
Noise cancellation. Gotcha.
Oh, I thought you did that on purpose.
No.
Just to see if you were paying attention.
No. I was just agreeing that the time, you invest so much time, especially when you don't know the depth of what you're looking at and trying to stay current at. when you first find something and you're really fascinated by it, you're trying to stay current. All of a sudden, your time is consumed because you didn't know that this had been going on for X long, and now you got to catch up. And so
Yeah.
there's that almost the addiction of not doing your thing, but constantly staying caught up in that thing.
Yeah.
You must have started reading Armageddon Game.
No.
Man, I really like the Spider-Man character. Oh my god.
Yeah.
My friend just introduced me to this Walking Dead book or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to be stuck in that book for a while.
Right, and Dave was never heard of again.
Exactly. For me, it's like kind of a little more what Jose kind of touched on, you know, but with my own kind of spin. But it's, you know, getting in there and, you know, one, you're getting kind of sucked into there. But at the same time, I get other books that I get kind of tired of the same. You know, you get some of the books that are just the same kind of rehash stuff, and for those, you know, my time, I have a really hard time with available free time. You know, the idea of me being able to sit there and spend 80 hours on a game is just like, what?
You can do it. No, I'm just joking.
So when it comes into a thing where I have a story and I've rehashed, you know, it just feels like a rehash. I kind of back up and go, you know, I really wish that I had spent my time somewhere else and gotten a little more out of it. So that's kind of what I read, you know, the negative effect on it. You know, sometimes you can do that, even because I have so much stuff going on. You know, even just a point of just downtime, sitting on the couch or something like that, may be more beneficial than a story that just doesn't seem to be going anywhere, or not being thrilled, especially if it's something that you're really looking forward to. A movie or something like that. Flash. Sorry.
Gesundheit.
But yeah, you know, when you have visions of babies flying through the air and stuff like that, I just kind of regret some of the stuff we can do. All right, I got Jose on that one.
I waited until it came out on streaming. Still haven't seen it.
Well, Jose, thank you for that great segue. You know, all of us are creators of an age where we've, you know, at minimum probably existed from the transition through VHS to DVDs to now streaming services. How has the rapid expansion of media platforms and content availability changed the way that you consume art and media? Yeah, and how do you find that has impacted part of your creative process? Because I know for me personally, well, I can't actually. I used to not be able to do this. I used to not be able to like write and watch them at the same time. But now I'm finding that having like a cacophony of noises almost allows me to focus in better. Where like running something that like is either entirely unrelated, like I'll have like a YouTube video on astrophysics playing in the background while I'm working on creative stuff, or something so closely aligned that like I'll look up like that's a cool character, go back to writing, or anything like that. But also now I find it's also quicker to do small breaks where if I'm watching a piece of media or something, I'll work on one monitor for 10-20 minutes, watch 5 minutes of media, come back to the other side of it on this monitor, and I find that I've been able to better break up my pacing so I can stay focused for longer instead of running into a brick wall by the end of 2 hours. So for you guys, what is the expansion of media and content availability done for your media consumption, and how that affects your creative process?
This is a really cool question because I never really thought about this until you just asked this question. Like, if I think about music, because I think this applies to everything, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about how I consumed music when I was younger, we didn't have, I mean, I guess before, when we had CDs and records, right? I would listen to the same thing over and over again. So,
Hmm.
I could, if I looked at myself back then, I had all these songs memorized, all the lyrics memorized, right? But now, since I can listen to a whole bunch of stuff at any time, I don't think that I really memorize the lyrics to most any song. And I think like, when if I think about the other type of media that I consume, again, I would watch the same movies over and over again on VHS because that's all we had at the house. You either
Yeah.
had to go rent it, right? Or you just watched everything over and over and over again. And I knew all the lines to those movies. But now I can consume so many different movies, indie movies, everything that I don't really know things at that same level. And I wonder, right, if it's the exact same thing with everything. So my appreciation for things back then, I think was a lot higher. And I knew the details of things a lot more because I had a lot less to consume. So I just dug into those things very deeply. And now I'm just overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. So I don't dig into any one thing too deeply unless I really try. But I'm exposed to a lot of things, so it's just really interesting. I don't know. I think I'm capable of brainstorming a lot better now than I was then. But
Hmm.
back then, I was very detailed in what I did
Yeah.
consume. So
Definitely.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore because if you don't memorize song lyrics, how are we supposed to be a famous duet if
hey, I can learn. I can
I
learn.
can't,
I
I
just
can't
don't
do
feel
the
the
number one
passion
record
to.
in the group, buddy? Um, I don't know. Able to through streaming service because I'm surgically attached to my chair. I can just stream whatever I want on one monitor and work on the other. And normally, what I normally watch is stuff I've already watched like a million times. Like you said, you
Mhm.
listen to, you had a minimal amount of content back in the day that you were able to watch and listen to.
Mhm.
I purposely minimize the amount of content I have running on my, you know what I mean, on my computer at any one time, so I don't have to sit there and, oh
Mhm.
crap, I got to work. You know what I mean? If I can
Mhm.
just keep watching the same thing over and over again, I know what's happening because I've already seen it. So that has been a wonder for me. Um, since, like I said, I'm surgically attached to my chair. Yeah.
Me, I try to I try not to watch things because I tend to kind of want to get drawn into them, even if it's something that I've
Mhm.
watched. I mean,
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've cycled through, the Clone Wars and all of that, but I could still get sucked into it. I do periodically, if I bring another source in, it's going to be more music based
Hmm.
because that one I don't have to visually focus on. But most of the time I'm just in a quiet environment, just doing my thing, unless I feel like I'm going crazy. But most of the time I don't have an issue with it. My wife, on the other hand, is she's one that can't. It's almost you can't focus without some kind of background noise going on.
Hmm.
So I see the other side of it, and whether it's how many times she's roped in Rogue One, just loop that in, where she will just like just like you guys said, it's things that you've seen. For her, it's stuff that she's seen that she won't get drawn into because she's already done it. It's just going on in the background. Doesn't take that much thought or focus away. But me, I tend to get in and get sucked into things a lot. And when I read fairly slow. And the difference being, my wife can go through a book in a night, but you go and ask, hey, what happened here? She gets a lot of the overview because she's speed read through it, so she knows a lot of the things, but she doesn't know a lot of the details. Whereas me, I can go, you know, remember in the Hunger Games, whenever they all went upstairs into the back room where they could talk freely, and they devised the thing for getting married and all, and to my stepdaughter's dismay, that was actually something that hurt her, because she was supposedly reading that book, and I quizzed her on it because she's like, oh yeah, I'm already here, and I was reading the book at the same time. So I'm like, oh yeah, well what did they talk about in this? And she was like, and I said, that's a pretty potent thing, the whole marriage idea and all that stuff. You would have, had you paid attention or actually read what you're saying you read, you would have singled that thing out. So like I said, with me, I get kind of absorbed in things, and I focus a lot on the details and retain a lot of the details, a lot of my useless knowledge, and that's what I feed things nowadays with.
So add a note that we need to bring Devill on to the next time we do bar trivia.
Yep.
I've been pretty lucky. I don't know if it's just the content stuff, but the Sunday, the trivia nights and stuff like that. And so far, I've been fairly lucky. And I'm pretty sure it's just luck. Some of the things are like left field, but yeah, some of those I've been lucky on. Maybe.
Cool. I have another question here, but I did have one point. Yeah, I don't always necessarily have visual media playing when I'm writing. Sometimes it is just the same thing I have in music, where I have the amount of options I have now to play music throughout my house, where, sometimes if I'm going down the right, I'll just say, Alexa, play piano jazz. See if we've got any of our listeners. And use that as my go to, just get the mind sparking.
I hear you searching for a friend, Tim. I hear that's what you just said.
Yes.
Anybody? Anybody? Please?
No. Just try to throw in an Alexa prompt to if anyone's listening to this podcast at home. The next question I have here, second to last one. How does now with how rampant content and media is, how does the constant exposure to other artists' work impact your sense of competition or comparison, or does it spark something of the idea of collaboration, that we're all making cool stories, and that and how's that working for you? I know that there have been moments where I've seen writers' work and I immediately feel inadequate compared to it, but there's other moments where I see something so cool and I really want to support that writer, that become used to be Twitter, but now I guess Thread mutuals, RIP Twitter, and start supporting each other as much as we can. So for you guys, what do you find that exposure has done for your sense of competition, comparison, or collaboration?
Well, first off, we should always support other creators.
Yes.
Like I say, even if their politics is completely different than yours, and you would literally attack each other with bats if you met each other, still support each other's work. Just want to throw that out there.
I think initially, I'm not old, but I think like in younger days, it's a competition. Like, man, how could, or maybe even just trying to get in that same status, right? Where how can I be just as good as that, right? And I think like lately, I'll say it's more of an appreciation, no matter what the level is, just appreciating what they brought into the world or what they brought to the table. And so now that competition isn't that I guess that mindset isn't as prevalent as, man, just appreciating what it is right now, reading it. Oh man, this is such a good way to tell this story, right? Or this is such a good way to do a flashback. It doesn't matter if you're just like focusing on one aspect of what the creator did, or maybe the colors of what the creator did, but I think it's more focused on creation now, or appreciation now, than in my life at least,
Yeah.
than it had been before. Before it's, man, that's what they're doing, that's the level that they're at, and I got to get to that level somehow. Now I guess I'm not as focused as trying to be what they are, as much as, hey, this is what they're offering. What can I offer in that same vein that somebody eventually can appreciate one day? So
And that's actually pretty insightful, Cassisi, for an old man.
thank you.
No, but you know what? I can, without ever actually thinking about that one before, I could probably agree with that, because half the reason, like growing up when I was younger, like I always drew. I always wanted to draw. I drew on everything, to the dismay of my mother in our bedroom wall. But I hated the competition, and I saw from an outside looking in at creators, and just the way they kind of like, you could just hear them chatting and whatnot. Like, God, man, it was competitive. I was like, oh, I got to be better than this person. I got to do this better than this person. And then hearing people that that are trying to get into the business, talk like that, it was such like a turn off for me, for the business. You know what I mean? So like growing up, I always wanted to be in comics. But I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. You know what I mean? And now as I've gotten older, and I don't think art school helped with that, but like just the idea of being able to talk to some people that are in the business, I really have a better appreciation, like you said, for like, what are they bringing to the table to push, not so much the envelope, but push the medium, push this thing that we love to do, and like I said, uplift, every artist you can. If they're new and trying to get into it, give them the advice. I had people sit me down at a convention and just explain things to me. You know what I mean? They took the time to do that. And then some people were like, "You're not spending money on me? Keep moving, sir." You know. But I feel now I don't get that nearly as much, like going to shows and stuff like that. It's very much a lot more like camaraderie when I do shows. So yeah, I can definitely see like what you were saying about the competition, or I'm just old.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the oldest one here. So. And of course, just had a birthday, so I'm even older now.
Woo woo! Happy birthday!
Yeah.
Thanks.
You don't look a day past ancient.
I'm not quite at dust yet, right? Yeah, I totally agree with what Jose said. It's always about looking at what other artists are doing and appreciating the stuff that they do. Maybe their style is not your style, and everybody's style, but I've always felt that there really isn't a wrong style, at least in my opinion. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and maybe it's just not the way that I would think about it. But there's definitely they work hard to get where they are, to get published and everything. So yeah, it's definitely worthy of supporting. And I take my influence from things that I like. Maybe some of the things that I see that I don't like, and it helps kind of shift me in the other direction. Somebody was pretty accomplished, and it, in my eyes, it didn't do what I would think that I would want it to do for me. So maybe I stay away from that. Mm-hmm. So it's always a good thing to do that, and I always like to go and talk with some of the creators and say, hey, I love your stuff. I had that at San Diego Comic-Con. I got a chance to go and talk with Ron Lim, and I used to love all his stuff, his Warlock stuff, back in the '90s, and it's great to see him doing a lot more, a lot more of that stuff now. Silver Surfer, Warlock, and I'm like, so I kind of stopped by his booth and I said, it's great to see you, see you doing more stuff. I know he's been doing things, but it's like it's great to see him back on, Warlock and things, and I enjoyed him and everything, and just let him know, that hey, I'm a fan. I loved your work before, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's what I try to do.
And wrapping up here, what, considering everything talked about tonight, what are your personal strategies or thoughts that you have concerning how you go about consuming media or content in a way that focuses on the positive aspects on it, the idea of collaboration, inspiration, brainstorming generated ideas, and minimizes the chance of decision paralysis, burnout, falling down the rabbit hole of staying up till 3 a.m. playing Final Fantasy 14 or Starfield. What are your thoughts regarding all that?
I don't know that I could avoid the rabbit holes so much, or the pitfalls. I think nowadays, again, like I said earlier, I'm trying to get into appreciating things and making the quality of what I consume, or being intentional about what I kind of dive into. So if I can do that, I think I can get back to where I was before when I was younger, when you just had this one record and you mastered the thing, or meaning you know this character inside and out, and you understand how those stories are told, and you can really say, kind of like how Jose is consuming materials, he's looking at, hey, how does that person do this? What brushstrokes are they using? Can I replicate that? I want to get to the point where I'm consuming media and constantly learning from what I'm consuming, right? And I think, again, I'm going to taste a lot of things, but only really eat a meal on those things that I've figured out that I like. So
Sure.
it's kind of where I'm at right now.
I heard a great story this weekend. And we had kind of like a powwow after the show on Saturday, and we got to sit there. And Rob Davis was hanging out with us, and Sergio Carrillo came and sat down with us, and he started going into the story of how he got to the Kubert School, right? Because he went to the Kubert School, but he was in Brazil. He had, like just so many like trials and tribulations that led him to be like that got in the way, and like obstacles he had to overcome to get to the school. And when he got there, he did everything he could to put himself next to Joe Kubert, to be able to look at his work, to go over his stuff. You know what I mean? Just to be elbows deep in everything that Joe Kubert was doing. And I think that personally, that's how like all creators should be when they're trying to come up in the business. You know what I mean? Put yourself with people that you can learn from, you can absorb. You know what I mean? Like it's funny because he was telling that story, and I'm just sitting there, just listening to everything he said, listening to everything that I heard from Rob Davis, everything I hear from Roland, and I want to absorb all that in just to make myself a better creator. You know what I mean? A better person in the comic book business than I even thought I could have been. Not just like, oh, I'm so talented, but I want to be that humble person. I want to be that loving, uplifting person to other creators. I just, man, like if you're gonna consume anything, consume like the experience of other people. Like, and if they're telling you a story about what they do, just soak all that in and just learn from it.
I agree.
Except for Tim and his Final Fantasy Anonymous starts after the street.
Yep. uh, David, do you have any notes on that yourself, or?
No, I totally agree. I try to take in, everything in that I can. People's experiences, their do's, their don'ts. I'm always welcome to see what other people, you know, any advice that they give me. I love hearing, little war stories and things that people went through and experiences. Kind of brings me about. Maybe it changes a little bit my view on things, because like example, I remember, I used to love Kamiko stuff when I was first doing comics. I was picking up quite a bit of their line and all that. But then, hearing some of the stories from some of the people in the industry that, maybe their experience didn't go over that as well. And I did know at the time that there was some stuff, but, it's just, I always like to hear the ins and outs and see what I can take. And, maybe it makes some of the memories a little more cherished, and maybe some of the ones a little more, wow, how did I let myself get sucked into that? How did how did I let myself get sucked into 276 or however many episodes of Dragon Ball Z to look at how many actual fights there were?
There was only one fight and 200 something episodes. That's 2 punches.
And 256 episodes of powering up for those 2 punches.
That's right.
So it just gives me perspective, and I like that.
Definitely. My thought on all this is that kind of similar sentiment, but just approaching my media consumption. I get the most out when I approach it with like a sense of intentionality, knowing that if I'm going to watch something or read something, if it's during normal hours or whatever, going at it with a sense of I want to take mental notes. I want to to make a meal of it, or fully engage with this and take in what I want to, like, things I can learn from this. But also, as a person, you have to have days where you give yourself rest, and knowing that you can set aside time to brain off, play Starfield for weekends. 8 hours of Starfield is great, but that's a once in a while thing. that's something you have to set aside time for. Hey, this is a special event in my life. This is my weekend. After this, it's back to being a normal human.
Well,
my time. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see what Tim deems as normal hours for him. I don't see him having normal hours.
My working time starts at 7 a.m. and usually ends around 2 a.m. That's my normal working time.
Look at Tim's business photo. He's all in a suit. He scares me. I'm just saying.
Oh, I have.
It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. I was like, wait, what? Tim is all corporate America?
I don't know if I just want to show my ID on camera, but I'm wearing a button-up tie and petticoat.
A petticoat. Interesting.
But working 2-day jobs and then also creating on the side. At least if you can work from home, that's the best way to do it, and then you can goblin out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my normal attire, and then I can suit up if I need to. But
right,
yeah.
My only change of
him, but I commend you, man. You do a lot.
My only change out is if I'm at home or whatever, I'm typically in just shorts, t-shirt, kind of
Superman underoos.
Oh wait,
if I go into the office, definitely I'll be in pants. It depends. I used to be in like a button-up shirt, and slacks. That the whole office environment ever since COVID hit, kind of relaxed a little bit.
Yeah.
Smaller office. So more jeans and maybe a collared shirt or something like that. But typically the only time most of the time that I change out is whether I go from shorts to motorcycle gear. That's about it.
There you go.
That's the only transition I do. So
Yeah.
Funny enough, like for the first year out of school when I was home, you know what I mean, trying to get work done and stuff like that, I'd wake up, walk over in my Scooby Doo underwear and just, try to work on artwork or whatever. I realized I need to actually get dressed because if I get dressed, I know I'm coming over here to work. And I know it sounds really weird. Oh, you can be at home and sit in your drawers anytime you want to work, but I don't know. I can't take it as I'm at work if I'm not actually dressed. So I'll make a point of it, even if it's like basketball shorts and a t-shirt. At least I'm dressed to sit. Okay, now I can work. Now I can get going.
It's the ritual of it. Yeah, it's a
right.
Yeah. If I'm coming down, if I'm sitting my computer in like my sweatpants, like I'm here to relax and chill, or whatever. But if I come in and I'm wearing actual pants or something, then I know I'm coming into work.
Yeah, and it's I always thought like, oh man, I can't wait. I'm gonna work in my underwear and I have to do nothing. No one's gonna see me because I'm at home. Yes, but I can't do that because then it's just like tangent after tangent and Facebook and Instagram and it's over 9 hours later.
Well, I have to say, no matter what, thank you, Jose, for not coming on camera in your underwear.
I have had the occasion like
until you've seen them, they're amazing.
I definitely have had the surprise Zoom call where like I am definitely just wearing like a button up and nothing else. Gotta be real careful how the camera's angled.
So I did that when I was in school. I did that. Like I would have to get up early, and my last half of school year at the art school was done remotely because of COVID, right? And I had to sit there and like stream, and we had to physically be in front of the camera because they're like, "Oh, we have to see you, otherwise, how do we know you're not taking a nap?" Which makes sense. So I was all like, "Okay, adjust my camera, make sure nobody sees me. I'm sitting here in my drawers and t-shirts and eat my bowl of cereal on the side so nobody can see me."
Yeah, that was a funny thing. Is we had a meeting on my birthday, and it was 6:30 a.m. because most of the people are East Coast or stuff like that. So those ones are hard. It's hard to want to get up at 5:30 to get in the shower and get all cleaned up to do that. To go into these things. I've been a little less selective in turning the camera on just because I don't, not that I'm falling asleep or anything. It's just like I don't want to have that just that feeling that people think that I'm not listening to them or anything. So I just want to be present, hear what they say, jump in as need be. But some of those meetings are kind of rough. 5:30 in the morning meetings get real rough.
Yeah.
Especially as I'm a night owl, as most of you are. So
yeah.
Gosh. I'm not. No, I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not one at all. Yeah.
I don't know. Next time we get
it's already almost past my bedtime.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. If we get all together for a convention, we're going to be the worst roommates for Cassisi.
Oh my god.
Is he asleep yet? He's asleep. Let's do it.
It's on.
I can survive a night, but dang it, I'm not. It is not my natural state. I am not a night owl.
Sure.
Look, I don't understand how not.
I don't know.
That's crazy to me. But I've been doing that like even when in high school. Like I had to get up for high school, but I would still stay up till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, go to bed, or I think I stayed up till like 2, went to bed and woke up at 5 for school.
Mhm.
Like that's high school because I had to catch the bus. I had to take a shower first, and then my brother had to take a shower. So like we caught the bus at like 7 in the morning. So yeah, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Which sucked.
I've always been an early riser, but never really a late owl. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
I-
been an early riser. It's my situation, my job, stuff like that would be. But on my own, I tend to not. But I will be up late. So
Yeah.
Listen, I will
Just
warn my
this-
children. Listen, it's Saturday. I don't have to go anywhere. If you wake me up before 10, I will sell you and kill you.
Oh gosh.
And you will never see Christmas again.
I'm
And then,
sure.
my wife wakes me up at 9. So.
she gets a free pass. So
Mhm.
Right.
Definitely. Well, this has been That Silverline Show on Tuesday. We'll be back next week with a subject that I need to figure out and submit our next month's schedule. So I'll be doing that sometime
Oh.
this week. Be sure to check out Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on those respective days. Does anyone have any news, appearances, things coming up that they need to promote real quick?
I'll say, I think I'm done for the year, convention wise.
he just had his big show last weekend. So
Yeah.
I did Daytona Beach. It was
cool.
pretty awesome. Tim, you were missed, buddy.
I know. Well, they can invite me back next year, and I'll be there.
That was awesome. That was super cool. I tried to get, like I said, I was telling Tim that before the show, I tabled with Haley Martin, and I tried to get her to sell all her stuff so she can buy me a Mastercraft Skywarp. Dave, they have a Mastercraft Skywarp.
nice.
It's freaking sick, dude.
Skywarp was one of my favorite of the Seekers.
Heck
so
yes. But if
I
anybody
love the
knows,
color scheme on that.
purple Seeker, like Seekers, like Starscream and whatnot, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp was purple.
Yep.
And guess who didn't sell all her stuff to buy me a Skywarp? Just saying, Haley. Just saying.
I have empathy for him. I just do. It's Skywalker. I gotta agree. Not that I don't appreciate it. She's everything that I've seen. I've never talked with her, but everything that I've seen with her, she just seems like the nicest person in the world.
Oh my gosh,
But this is Skywarp. Come on.
Like anytime she got up to go to do whatever, walk around and whatnot, I was like, just so you know, I'm selling everything for $1.
Oh my god.
If somebody asks, it's getting sold for $1.
Hey, Roland's popped in the chat.
Yes.
Hi, FN.
I will not be at Rose City Comic Con, but I will be at KimuraCon later this year in Portland. So if you're in Portland for KCon, come say hi. I'll be wandering the floor as either Gojo or Kevin Mask. One of these years, we'll have to figure out if we're going to Emerald City, Rose City, or San Diego and fly Jose out to be with us West Coasters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm waiting. I submitted my professional status for San Diego, so I'm waiting to see if they accept it. So hopefully they will, and if they are, I will definitely be for sure at San Diego. I will probably still be there even if I don't get it, but
That's right.
I definitely
That's
will be
dedication.
there if I can.
It's
Nice.
like half a lung in your firstborn child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty pricey to get in there, particularly for all the days and stuff. If you're lucky enough to get that. But.
Well,
Okay.
that's cool.
Well, if anyone doesn't have any closing thoughts, we'll play our outro, and we'll see everyone next week.
All right. See you all at Final Fantasy Anonymous.
Final Fantasy Anonymous. Yep, gotta vent our complaints about our statics and. the hours spent on Alpha Omega.
Yeah, Roland comment in there. Yeah, that's what I submitted for, was to get the Pro Pass. So
Yes.
it came up renewal this year, so hopefully, luckily, I was able to post some of the things like point to the Kickstarter and stuff like that. So hopefully that should help.
Definitely.
And
Okay.
everyone, thanks. This day has gone by. You're like, well, getting on my last question, and I look up and it's like 9 o'clock at the time. I'm like, where did the time go? It's been so much fun hanging out with you guys.
It's been a great show.
Yeah.
Well,
When was your birthday, Dave? You said yesterday, day before, 3 weeks ago?
Last Friday.
Last Friday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
The 8th.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat, and thanks all of our listeners who listen to this at home. We are on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, anything where podcasts can be found. We'll be back next week, but until that time, make mine
Silverline.
Because he has one.
I know, I found it.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Good job, everybody.
My name is Ross Ritchie from Boom Studios, and make mine Silverline.